Okay, and I'm going to kick it off as well. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Iron. Let me admit Scott here. To another installment of an IronHike coaching session. Today is a little less coaching, a little more chit chat about gear. We'll probably talk about shoes today as well. So there's a lot of people who have done this. There's a lot of long distance hikers on the call. There's a lot of people, some accomplished mountain crushers on the call as well. So with that, what I'd like to do is go ahead and get started, and let's open it up. Let's do it a little differently. Let's open it up to questions first. There's a lot of people here probably curious about gear concerns. And while you're doing that, I'm going to pull up a list from last year's Mountain Athlete Guide, which is being published this week, by the way, for this year. But I'm going to pull up that list and we can talk from that list. So who wants to start with some questions while I go get that list?
Everybody's shy.
No, I don't believe that for a minute. Hold on. All right, here. Maybe this will whet everyone's appetite for conversation. Okay. Okay, so I'm sharing the beginning of this year's packing list. And I'm just going to start going through these items, and stop me when you feel like asking a question. So number one on the list for me anyway is extra socks, and I'll let Scott tell you a sock story and a foot story from 2023. Day pack, running vest, running belt, carry your water bottle, bladder. So if you don't know, you're literally running or walking or trekking or crawling up and down the side of a ski slope. It has some very interesting challenges to it, but one of the challenges that's alleviated is you don't have to really haul a lot of stuff. You can leave stuff at the top, you can leave stuff at the bottom, and it's no problem. It's not like these desert treks and these other ultras in the world where you have to carry all your stuff the whole time. You'll be able to cache stuff at the top and at the bottom. So recommend headsets, headphone, earbuds, AirPods. You're going to say hi to everyone about 50 times during your event, but that alone time also, and that getting yourself amped up. Some events are not earbud or earhead friendly. We are. Headset friendly, but we are. Footwear. So we can have that conversation as well. Trail runners, boots, your favorite. Bring 2 pair. The 1 pair you have might get soaking wet and may never dry. There's a dew point problem on the mountain. And then, of course, it could rain the whole time like it did in 2023. So having a pair of dry shoes to start out in after a break is a good idea. Rain gear is mandatory. This is an all-weather event. If it's raining, if it's 23 degrees, or if it's 83 degrees, it's a go. So you will be, if it rains, you're going to be expected to continue. So make sure you bring rain gear. I didn't say any umbrellas, but I kind of like umbrellas for hiking. So an umbrella would be fine. No limits on that. Recommend trekking poles. You guys can see my screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wristwatch, sunglasses, sunblock. It was very sunny last June. It was really hot, actually. Carry your cell phone. So that might be the only way you can get in touch with us if you're all the way at the top and nobody's coming soon. Happens sometimes throughout the event, like you decided to trek at 3 a.m. to get it done, and there might be 2 other people out there, and they might have taken a break. So if you get stuck up there or you get injured, the cell phone is your friend. And besides, take a lot of pictures. I'm going to pause there. Questions so far? Comments? Scott, you got to stop the stock story.
I have a general comment that kind of leads to what you specifically need for all of these. And I would say when you're as a participant, I would say think about what your purpose is. If your goal is to run something, to in essence run it fast, you might have different, maybe you're going to have different trail shoes, You might actually do a water belt or something like that, where if you're, more of a, I'm just getting it done within the 24, 48, whatever the hours is, then, so I think that's something that's going to really frame what specifically you're going to take. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, whether it's on you or staged at the top, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but both are allowed. That's what I wanted to point
Yep.
out. Like both methods are fine.
Absolutely. Yep.
Any questions from anyone on here?
No, so I stage the water. I have yelling kids in the background, not dogs this time, just yelling kids. So and I have 5 of them, so there's always chaos. But I staged a water bottle on top, and I staged a water bottle on the bottom. All right, and it was just like a literally an 8-ounce bottle. It was the 2 Ensure protein drinks that I had in the morning. Right, I just slammed 2 of those, and I left one down at the bottom, and I put the other one up at top. And then I always had a vessel to get a quick drink, and I wasn't over drinking. I wasn't drinking too much or anything like that. As far as socks go, I'm a huge fan of toe socks with another like a darn tough on top of it. Right, I don't endorse Injinji. I can't stand them, but and so I use.
But if you like Injinji,
right. If you like Injinji, you should. You see all these videos of people who finish the Appalachian Trail and they become these instant celebrities, and they do these. I'm going to do a gear review on this. I'm going to do a gear review on shoes, and they do a gear review on shoe after shoe after shoe after shoe, and at the end of it, they go, "But really, whatever shoe fits you the best, that's what you should do." Right? Yeah, right. And it's totally worth it. So, whatever sock system that you have that works for you, that's what you use, right? Don't be like, Scott said use some toe socks, but I've never done it before. Now that's not the time to try them.
Yeah,
right.
That's a good point.
In the Army, right? You always see guys that have come up on the day that we're doing a 12-mile road march, and what do? They're like, oh man, I got a new pair of boots. I'm going to break them in on this road march. Nope, the boots are going to break you in. It's not that's how it is. So whatever you're doing that works, don't go, oh, well, Scott likes toe socks for long distance hikes.
Nothing different.
Yeah. So, yeah, don't do anything different. If it works, stick with it. Let me see.
Exactly. So to your point, anything that you want to do during the event, you should have already done it many, many times in practice. If it's toe socks, do it many times before you get to us.
Any scuba divers, any skydivers? Right, the number 1 rule of scuba diving and skydiving is plan your dive your plan. Right, 2 or 3 weeks prior to me being the first finisher, I wrote everything down. I wrote my entire plan on a piece of cardboard, and I brought it with me. And that's exactly what I did. I did exactly that plan. And I promise you, 3 laps into it, you're going to start thinking your plan's not good. 10 laps into it, you're going to start thinking, man, my plan really sucks. 15 laps into it, you can start thinking, man, if I just modified this or that, don't do it. Right? Plan your dive your plan. John, would you scroll up to where I could see what else is on this list? You passed through it real quick. And I keep trying to scroll on it, and it's not working. Let's see. Socks, we talked about day pack, running vest. Those are all good, and if that's how you train, then use them. If it's not, that's not the time to try them out. No, go back up. The other way. Trekking poles. I think trekking poles are a must. They're literally an extra set of legs when you're walking up, and they're great stabilizers when you're walking down. Nobody thinks about walking down, right? And last year there were, I think, 8 contestants or 8 applicants or 8 athletes that were doing the Olympus Mons. And in the first 3 laps, all of them were like, oh, this piece of cake, I got it, piece of cake. In the first 10 laps, 15 laps, they're like, I didn't account for the down. Right? It's a lot of down, and down is a lot of wear and tear on you. Wristwatch, sunglasses, sunblock, yes. I'm Italian. I don't really wear sunblock, but it's okay. Cell phone, yes. And he made a really good point, right? 3 o'clock in the morning from about a couple of times, like from 2 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the morning. I was the only person on the mountain. And then when I was the only person left, I was the only person on the mountain. So it's really important to maintain that communication, right? John and the staff, we all make a good job, do a great job of making sure that we see you, right? Even if you don't see us, we see you, right? And there's somebody always awake or somewhat awake by that fire, but there's always someone there. Yeah, I think that's all I got on that.
Okay.
Cotton kills.
Yeah, quick dry clothes. No cotton clothes. Wool socks or some synthetics. You're going to get wet. You're going to sweat a lot. There's a dew point problem on this mountain. The dew starts at about, when would you say, Scott? About 10 p.m. and doesn't dry up until the sun comes out about 9 a.m. And it's wet.
But it gets really bad from about like 5 to 8 in the morning. That's when it's really bad. So if you have shoes, that's where that second pair of shoes comes in nice and handy, right? Yep. Get the shoes that you want wet, wear them, and then 8:30 in the morning, swap shoes out, and then just let those shoes dry. That's a really good technique. It's not one that I did because I'm a dumbass, but it is that if I had to do it all over again, and I'm not, that's what I would do. I would swap those shoes out.
There's a collage of photographs of Scott's feet after 2023, after the attempt, and it rained for 2.5 days before we started. Everything was a lake. Those of you who did last year, imagine the entire base area had about 1.5 feet of water in it. And you had no choice but to walk through that puddle for about 3 minutes to get to the bell and turn back around and do the same thing. Scott's feet were destroyed. And I guess he had a blister on every toe, 5 blisters on the bottom of his feet, 3 on his heels. It was an amazing photograph. It's on Instagram if you want to see it. But yes, socks, shoes. Dan Allen actually finished Denali in 2023. He's one of our co-founders. And he had a sock rotation program where he had like 7 pairs of socks, and he hung them all on a bucket inside of his tent. And we'll get to tenting in a minute. But he just would hang them in there to dry. And he would take the least wet pair with him every time after a break. And it seemed to work for him. Let's talk about tenting and sleep systems. Most of you are going to tent, if not all of you, to some extent. Make sure that you have a tent. I think I'm lending a tent to somebody on the call. Is that right? I don't remember.
Yes. Thank you.
I am lending you a tent. That's correct. We talked about that. Make sure you have a tent. Make sure you have a sleep pad, sleeping bag. It can get chilly at night, even in June, and especially in October. I actually had kind of a hypothermic fit last October. It was horrible, and I had all the right gear. So, but yeah, it got a little nippy a couple nights in October, and could get a little cold in June as well. So sleep gear, sleep pad, sleeping bag. Again, if you've never set up your tent with Christine's an exception because I've set up her tent, the one I'm lending her. Don't set up your tent for the first time at the event. Okay, practice it before you get there. Make sure you have all your stakes, all your poles, all that stuff. Right. Let's go through the list a little bit more. Food bag. So this year we have a food truck coming. There's a local organization called Food for Friends. They're really cool, and she will be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And she's pretty famous. We may actually have people showing up just to eat her food and watch you suffer. So locally, but there's going to be a food truck. But again, the stuff on that food truck may not be stuff that you like. Maybe something you've never eaten before. And again, what's the rule, Scott, on event series weekend? Don't try
Nothing new on race day.
Anything new, right? So
Don't try anything new.
Yeah, if you've never had quinoa and raspberry oatmeal on multigrain toast, might not be a good time to experiment with it, right? I'm just saying. So, in your food bag, and you're allowed to have coolers and in your car and at the base area, everything you like. Some people are really picky eaters, like Scott. So everything that you like, bring with you, and then there'll be hot food is available as well. Let's go through mandatory real quick. Headlamp, chest lamp, sun lamp, that can be, you can hike with, run with, mandatory. As soon as the sun goes down, your light's on. It gets a little dark up there. We intentionally turn the lights off on the course. There's a little bit of a light at the summit and a light at the base, but for, I don't know, 0.4 miles, it's dark. And headlamp's pretty important, mostly for your footing. Bring a valid ID. Since you're under a waiver, it's kind of a legal agreement, so you need to make sure you are who you say you are. Anyone that you bring, family member, friend, husband, wife, whatever, they need to be under a waiver because it's a ski resort or a ski area. So when you show up, you're already on a waiver because you registered. Come see us. We'll get you a paper waiver for your family member, or they can sign up as a volunteer, inside fancy air quotes, which then waivers them, and they'll get a wristband. So talking about that, everyone has to be under a wristband. Athletes' wristbands, I think, are orange, and everyone else's wristband that's related to the event might be black this year or green, but everyone has to be under a wristband. A wristband says you've signed a waiver, and that's very important to the owners of Mohawk Mountain. Let's go back over some things. Bring some lawn chairs if you can, unless you're flying in. We talked about change of socks. Pockets. We have this thing called a summit token. There's these little wooden nickels that you carry with you, and when you come down, you toss one in the bucket, and it represents one lap, one summit, one descent, and it's sweat equity, and you throw it in the bucket, and you need a way to carry them. Some people carry 4 at a time, 5 at a time. Dave, what technique did you use with the summit coin or the summit tokens?
I was doing, I think, sets of 7. So I would just carry 7, and then when I took my 20-minute break in between the sets, then I would just refuel my summit tokens. So I'd have 7 in my pocket, 6, 5, 4, 3 down, and then kind of knew when my pocket was empty, I knew I was time for a decent break or a lunch or whatever.
So for those of you who are new to this, you're not being timed. You're not wearing a chip. You don't have a wristband or an ankle bracelet that like you would in a triathlon or some other race. The event is timed. You're not. So there's a big clock running, and it's counting down. So if you have 12 hours to finish your event, you know when your 12-hour mark is. You'll peek at that clock every time you come down. But since we're not timing you, because technically these aren't races, these are endurance events. You're only racing against, it's only you against the mountain and you against who you were the day before the event series, right? So we give you these summit tokens, and if you're doing Olympus Mons, how many did you have to deposit, Scott? I forget. Maybe it's 122 tokens that Scott had to carry up and down the mountain and deposit. And it helps you keep track of how many laps you have left, quite frankly. People find it to be a real valuable tool. And it's kind of cool to watch the bucket fill up with tokens, with summit tokens over the course of an event. Because every one of those is a lap that one of your fellow tribe members, mountain athletes, summited and descended. Bib belts are mandatory. We want your event bib displayed at all times so we know who you are. Or worse yet, if patrol has to go get you, they need to know who you are and radio to us who you are. So your bibs have to always be visible, and we like for you to wear a bib belt. It's somewhat mandatory, and if you don't have one, we provide one. When you registered, you were probably asked if you wanted a bib belt. And last but not least, this year we're having kind of a festival at the end on Sunday. Everyone's finish time is Sunday at noon. So we're starting a staggered start format this year. So the Olympus Mons people are starting Wednesday at midnight. Everest is starting Thursday at noon. I think Denali's starting Friday at noon. And then Kawohi and double Kawohi are starting Saturday at noon. Single Kawohi people have until midnight, then they can sleep over because it's going to be midnight. You can't fly home. You probably shouldn't drive home. And then the double Kauai people finish Sunday at noon with everyone else. So you're going to have this every day. The mountain's going to become more and more engaged with athletes. We're really excited about how this is going to play out. And then at the very end, we have there's going to be an award ceremony. We're going to give out some really cool awards this year, some gifts from our sponsors. And I'm trying to put together an open mic scenario where a local artist is going to show up with a microphone and a guitar, and we have some musicians in our staff that might play during the kind of have a jam session or something. We were going to do karaoke, but most people thought it was too corny, so open mic it is this year. Anyway, that's pretty much everything. This wasn't a coaching session. What are your questions, concerns? And I'll give it back to Patty and Scott if you wanted to add anything else, or anyone else that's been on the mountain that can give you some advice.
One thing, I don't know if you saw the text earlier, Scott, but on one of our earlier coaching calls, you had talked about like the heel lock. So for those of you that aren't used to going down, 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 if you get the black toenails, the sore toes and stuff, there is a way to lace your shoes so that that doesn't happen. Scott, I thought maybe if you got a pair of shoes handy, you could do a demo for us.
Oh, this could be really good.
Scott, are you there? I'm still
Hello.
seeing. Yeah,
Hello.
yeah.
Mr. Festa, Dr. Festa.
Did he just run to get shoes? Anybody? No?
Hopefully.
Yes, I ran to get shoes and I forgot to hit I was on mute. All right. So,
All right, so you're going to demo for us how to tie your shoes so that my feet don't slide into my toe box on my downhill, and then eventually destroy my toenails and have them fall off. All right, show us what you're doing.
hold on.
You gotta talk while you do it, Scott.
Crazy. All right. So this side here.
Hold them up
Lace.
right under your chin. Right under your chin. Yeah, center them right under your chin. There you go.
All right, so this is just laced the way that shoes are normally laced, and that back hole is not used. It's forgotten. You're walking around every day doing stuff, right? And if you look on this side here, I took
Neat.
and I just added a loop. So I took this one here, and I went right in that back hole, just like that. Everybody see that one?
Higher, Scott, by under your chin. There you go. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yep, perfect.
Everybody see that? Okay,
Yep.
good. And now I have the, excuse me. Hang on, I want to let those hang. Okay, so I have the same thing on both sides. Let me see, get that twist out. Twist over there. No. Everybody see how that works?
Yep.
Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this side and I'm going to put it through that hole right there. Good?
Mhm.
And I'm going to take this side and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to put it through that hole right there. And then I'm going to tie it down. And see how it just locked that lace right down there? Let me see. So I'm going to tighten it there. And then, and to when your foot is in this, if you just kind of do a sawing method right here, and it's kind of hard because the shoe is rotating. I want to push real hard with my chin. There. See how it's tightening and down and it's not loosening back up. So that's what we want to do. And what that'll do is it'll cinch down on the front of your foot and it'll prevent your foot from sliding forward as this loosens up naturally. That makes it. Hang on one second. I'm going to grab another pair of shoes. All right. Talk amongst yourselves. The Thompson twins were neither Thompsons nor twins. Discuss.
Okay. So I hiked the entire Appalachian Trail. Didn't know this trick. I would have to stop all the time and really cinch my shoes, especially on the downhill. So I get to the first IronHike event series, and Scott showed it to me. Changed everything. So, but yeah, keeps your feet from sliding into and banging up all day long and the tip of your or the inside of your foot box.
Scott did tie
I'm
my
running-
shoes, I think, on day 2 for me. And
Yeah.
I'm
it
running
was a
through the
game
house.
changer.
The dogs got all riled. Shut up, Matt. Okay, so when I did triathlon, I would just put one of these on my shoes, right? And I'd get them from Jackets, and now you can buy things like this. And this is years ago. And so now these are my regular shoes. So I get up in the morning and I put my shoes on and I just cinch them down and then I go, right? But as the day goes on, it's not a perfect system, but as the day goes on, this starts to wear and it starts to loosen with every step, and to where it's like this, and you can feel. And so when I run, I wrote a book on coaching cross country. I used to coach cross country, and I mentioned these specifically, and I would tighten them down, and as I'm running, they loosen up to where it's almost the perfect size shoe now for my foot, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm going down and I'm putting that pressure on here more and more, then it's opening up, and that's causing a huge foot slide. All right. I got kids walking in the door, and I got dogs who are like excited for kids stuff. It's noisy for a minute. Sorry. But that's what that does. That's what these create when you're going down. And this is what normal lacing does. So let me see.
Hey, so I wanted to introduce.
Normal lacing
Yeah.
like this
Yeah.
and this are equal.
So I wanted
This
to
is the
interject.
lock.
Some of the new folks are like, who's this guy to be telling me how to tie my shoes, right? So real quick, I don't know if everyone knows on the call, but Scott's the very first person to not finish Olympus Mons, and then the very first person to finish Olympus Mons. And he holds, no, we don't really track this officially, but he holds the unofficial fastest known time for Olympus Mons of 63 hours, which is an astonishing time. When you get on the mountain and you see what 63 hours of doing that would look like. Anyway, it gives the shoe tying advice a lot of clout. That's all I'm saying. So, any questions, concerns from people who are scheduled to do the event? Anything else you want to know?
It's Dr. Scott.
Yeah, Doctor. Yeah, forgot. He just recently finished his PhD.
Yay.
Everyone who's laughing and who knows me, they're laughing for the same reason, because I'm a huge dumbass.
Anyway, Kevin, Chris, anybody else have any questions about gear? What should you bring?
I'll ask a quick one. I was trying to write down and put stuff in my Amazon shopping cart as you were going. Shoe wise, I saw you held up some Hokas. Would you kind of have like hiking shoes or like max cushion running shoes, or would either work? I apologize if I missed that.
No. I actually wore the Brook Ghosts.
Okay.
Men,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
I honestly, I got these shoes for free. Someone bought them, and they, for whatever reason, it just didn't work out. And they're like, "Hey, do you want these?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not. They look ridiculous." And then I put them on my feet, and I'm like, "No, they're mine."
Yeah.
So these are super, super comfortable. I've never had a pair on before, but I did them in even on the Appalachian Trail. There were parts of it where I wore running shoes. When I was like, you know what, I'm gonna wear running shoes. And so rather than buy a new pair of hiking shoes because I wore them out, I bought running shoes, and I ran in running shoes or I walked, hiked, whatever, in running shoes for a couple of states, until they wore out. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back to hiking or trail runner type shoes.
Again,
But
2 rules of
what
thumb.
you're comfortable with, you're comfortable with, that's what you use. Don't show up to the road march thinking you're gonna break in new boots.
Yeah, no.
It's not gonna happen. And everyone else who doesn't know, if you haven't figured out yet, this is a really lighthearted event, and everyone's always happy and everyone's always helpful. It's not competitive because it's hard enough. It's going to suck enough that there's nothing I can do. So I might as well, we're all going to enjoy the suck together. Everyone's going to share stuff. Everyone's going to be super friendly. Everyone's going to be joking. Yeah, and that's the environment. People talk about like, oh, family environment, this and that, and they don't really mean it. We mean it 100%.
Chris, any other questions as you're throwing stuff in your cart?
Yeah, no, that was big one. I've got the Ghost Max Brooks, and I was kind of like thinking that, but yeah. No, it's been great. I've just kind of been listening and adding stuff to my cart, so thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're at time. We went overtime, which is kind of fun. It's nice to see some new faces. Anybody have any other questions, concerns, comments? I'm real happy that everyone's finding us on Instagram and other places and popping in.
Yeah, and just to kind of tell you guys that are newer on the calls, all of the previous calls, if you're interested in them, the ones on mindset and all of that, they're recorded, and John has them up on the IronHike YouTube channel, so you can go back and watch any coach calls that you missed that you might be interested in.
Yeah, this one as well will be posted right after today. And if you want to go back to the original interview with Scott about his Olympus Mons effort, I think it's like a 40-minute video. It's pretty cool. All right, everybody. I guess that's a wrap. We'll see everyone on the mountain.
Hey, can I just throw in one quick last minute one? Sorry. On the toe socks, would you go like ankle height or mid?
I'm a huge fan of I'm just a huge fan of ankle high. It goes back on what you're comfortable with. If you are a mid level guy, then get them at level ones. I'm dressed for work right now, and I have these on. These are darn toughs, by the way. But yeah, this is about as tall as my socks get.
So is that tattoo newer than the IronHike tattoo that's on your torso?
No. My last tattoo. There it is. Boom.
Love it.
Show it again slowly, and then tell everyone what is that rule number 5 is. What's rule number 5?
Yeah. Rule number 5 is a polite way. It just means harden the fuck up. That's exactly what we're word for word. So rule number 5, harden the fuck up. We have all kind of little sayings. I
know that comes directly from the special forces. Is that correct?
No, it actually comes from the biking community. That's where I learned it. I was biking across I-1 and someone was like, rule number 5, eh? And I'm like, what? And they're like, it's harden the fuck up. And I'm like, oh, I like that. So you might hear somebody say, rule number 5 or harden the fuck up. You might hear somebody
Since you mentioned it, Scott rides his bike ride every year for kids with cancer. And Scott's just a regular guy, or he'll tell you that. And in the beginning of this ride, I don't know how many hundreds of miles it is or whatever, he's on the wrong bike. He's on a cheap bike, and he's just riding. And at the end of each day, he's there with semi-professional cyclists. And they're like, what club do you cycle for? And he says, I don't. I'm just a guy out here. And it's pretty crazy. So anyway, yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. So rule number 5, fuck your hip, harden the fuck up. I don't care however you want to say it. You guys are going to win every lap you win. So
all right, I think that's a wrap now.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes.
See you.
Bye, guys. Take it easy.
Thank you.
I might not. Bye.